Bases dropped on a Wednesday evening edition of Soccer Down Here. Dinner time SDH. Things happen from time to time. Busy things. It gets hectic. We got to do what we got to do. We got a show. John remembered to plug in the mic right as we were going live. It's good times.
Remembered where he put it first and foremost.
Ay, Dios mío. It's going to be one of those nights I can already tell.
Mm-hmm.
So, we got lots of different things on the board for this evening. We're going to get into the MLS award finalists and why some of them are wrong. We're going to get into Barcelona's pay cuts or not pay cuts, or what this means, or where you can go pick up a Barcelona goal, because they're going to have to sell something when they go into liquidation. Yes. You can go pick up a Barcelona goal at your local liquidator. We're going to get into injuries because there's more of them to add to the list. And we'll get into anything else on your mind. It's a Wall Pass Wednesday, so it's an evening edition. Whatever you got in mind. We'll talk about U.S. men's national team tomorrow. We'll talk about Christian Pavón all over Argentine television right now, and the LA Galaxy saying they want to do a deal. Boca Juniors is like, we're waiting on an offer. Lots of good stuff. So whatever you want to get into, tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. Email us at soccerdownhere@gmail.com. Join us on the Twitch pitch, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere. There could even be an appearance from Jared_Smith at some point this evening. Maybe even Nick Alifi if the Italian bat signal went out. You never know. It's one of those things. Where do you want to start, John?
Well, let's see. Where do I want to start?
First, let me turn up your microphone.
Well, actually, let me get closer to it. How about that?
Well, probably both.
Yeah. All right. So then let me do that in addition to everything. It's like fix the camera.
Well, remember,
closer to the microphone.
John, a lot of people listen as a podcast. So when you're saying let's do that and do this and do that, they really have no idea what you're talking about.
Had to fix the camera on the computer because it was cutting off the top of my head. So I adjusted that lens just a little bit, got closer to the microphone. Microphone's as jacked up as it's going to be, and I figure I have to jack up my volume as well. To add to Wall Pass Wednesdayness.
Mm-hmm.
We have no Diet Dr. Pepper in the house currently, so I'm going to have to make a run. So I've had to go to a different 0-calorie drink this evening to get me through.
Which is?
Diet Cheerwine.
You went Diet Cheerwine? You went way off the board.
That's what I had that was close to the office.
Why would you have Diet Cheerwine anywhere in your domicile?
Because Cheerwine is awesome, and Diet Cheerwine...
Diet Cheerwine is an abomination.
It tastes close enough to it when it comes out of the can.
That's gross. I mean, Cheerwine is okay occasionally. Diet Cheerwine?
Hey, I'm dealing with the cards and the hand that I have been dealt, sir. By the time the show is over, my tongue will be a darkened red from having a glass of Diet Cheerwine. Happens either way, by the way.
I'm going to need the whole 6-pack of Bravazzi tonight. I can already see it coming.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah. I went back to my local gas station and got the Bravazzi, the blood orange hard Italian soda. It's very, very good, and it's hard to find, I'm discovering. The Badgermons, the whole Badgermon clan says hello.
Greetings, Badgermon clan.
Yes. Domer, Winter Wind hanging out. Winter Wind with a very good point. International call-ups are going to really scramble the playoffs in Major League Soccer.
Considering the news that came out about Pizarro in Mexico.
What was the news about Pizarro in Mexico?
Wasn't it that he's, if I remember it correctly, because of the quarantine issues, he'll miss the opening round game, and he could could miss the next match if they advance past the opening round. John,
you pulled Pizarro out of the list. I will just go from the list that Stam Stejkal, if I could say his name.
The hard Italian's already there 7 minutes in.
No, it's not. I just couldn't say his name, that's all.
Sam Stejkal.
Yes. I tried. The last name is tricky, and it's been mispronounced a lot. I believe we're getting that correct now. Yep. Sam Stejkal of The Athletic has a whole list, and it's a lot longer than Rodolfo Pizarro.
Right. That was just the first one that popped into my head. Hit me.
Randall Leal, Pedro Galese, Sebastian Mendez, Alex Callens, Luis Diaz, Christian Caceres, Jerome Casia, Marcos Lopez, Vaco, Robin Lod, Jan Gregush, Roman Mettener, Kai Kamara, Diego Rubio, Andy Polo, Felipe Mora, Felipe, the Brazilian U23 goalkeeper, Jamiro Montero, Olivia Mbaizo, Xavier Aliaga, Raul Ruiz-Diaz, but he shouldn't miss any time. Gustav Svensson, Jose Cifuentes, Diego Palacios, Brian Rodriguez, Diego Rossi.
26?
Something like that.
That's a lot of folks.
Yep. And they're going to be missing games. Unless MLS goes with a last-minute change to their quarantine situation and allow these players to play. Now, according to Garth Lagerwey, they have already said that Raul Ruiz-Diaz will not have to quarantine because he's already had COVID-19. Okay. So he would be eligible to play on November 24th against LAFC. None of these others have tested positive at any point that we know of, so they should not be able to play. I don't know. It's not a great look. I mean, there's been a lot of conversation. I feel like we've been talking about this for weeks, and now everybody else is caught up like, oh, oops, this is going to be weird. They really don't have options. They can't move the playoffs back. They are kind of locked in, but are they going to figure something out with this quarantine? Are they going to say, well, if you test negative twice, then we're going to allow you to play? Because they're testing during international duty as well. I would be fine with that. I honestly don't have a problem with that. Just announce it. Like, it shouldn't be a question right now. It shouldn't be weird. But I don't know. This is a crazy year, and I get it, and there's so many different things hitting you at different points, and planning is incredibly difficult, but this is kind of important. This needs to be clarified and say either these guys are missing because they're with their national teams and are going to miss 10 days after they return, or we're going to change the rules to allow them to test negative twice and be allowed to participate because they would have also tested negative however many times they were tested with their national team duties.
Right, yeah.
Which I'm fine. If that's the rule, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's safe. I think that's okay. But do it for the good of the competition and be clear about it. Don't leave it up in the air right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me. It's like with all of the testing that you would anticipate with these players on international duty so they can continue to be active in however many matches they are going to be participating in during this window, you would anticipate testing would be consistent. The results would be known, so you could sit there and take the international results from those international tests and apply them to your own timetables and what you'd like to have these players do once they return for the playoff.
Adding Victor Wanyama to that list as well. He is
27.
On international duty with Kenya. Shorten the quarantine. Let him test negative twice. Do it. I'm fine with that. Do it. That would be completely fine. If USL could do a competition, and yes, they slipped up at the very end, but if they did a competition testing once a week, if you've got the college situations going on with less testing than MLS is doing, you test negative twice coming back into your team, I'm okay with it. I'm good with it at this point. They should do it because they would have already tested negative multiple times with their national team as well. I don't know what else you can do, but it needs to be clear and it needs to be understood. Everybody's happy, or not everybody. The Badgermon clan is happy about your Diet Cheerwine. They are supporting you in your Diet Cheerwineness.
That's sweet.
Just gross. Just drink Cheerwine.
It's very difficult to find here in the state of Georgia, and so when
I can imagine
friends of Patty's go outside the state and they'll go to North Carolina, they'll go on vacation in the mountains and everything. They literally will call me and want to know, A, do I want any Cheerwine? B, do I want any Diet Cheerwine? C, how much? And D, when should they be able to drop it off because they'll be coming back into town? So yeah, it's like revenuers are chasing the folks with the moonshine. So it's kind of that kind of a thing.
It's Cheerwine, seriously. Jeez,
but you can't really get it here in Georgia. Evening Bandit.
I mean, they had Cheerwine on tap, draft, whatever, at the Bell Street Burritos in the Sweet Auburn Curb Market.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I have it occasionally.
Far out.
With a burrito when my office was down there. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Nice. It's
just the dietness of the Diet Cheerwine that I have an issue with. That's all.
Do you think that unless I was told by my doctor, specifically the physician's assistant who could have given two rats about who I was, he just looked at it, my body mass index and says, "You like to eat, don't you?" And I'm like, "Well, no, I really don't. I just like soda."
I don't like the look of it.
No, I don't. I honestly don't. But when you start something back in January and you're down 16 pounds after the span of a year, down from 212 to 196.
Very
No,
good.
I don't like to drink diet drinks, but I understand that it's a part of this whole process. Does it suck?
I am having a very bad day.
Yeah, when after I finish my Mountain Dew
I'm in
SAS.
no mood.
No, I'm not. I am not, especially on the night side when we're talking and it's a wall past Wednesday and anything can happen. And I'm stuck with, like I said, I love Cheerwine. I'm stuck having to have a diet drink while we're doing a show, considering that my quotient that I'm allowing myself, thanks to this physician's assistant, has, it's stuck in place, short of Friday nights when I'm up and, when I have to be on the sidelines forever during football season. But yeah, no, am I a fan of this? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. Would I love to be having a Mountain Dew right now instead of a Diet Cheerwine? You bet your, you know what? I know the pity is just amazing from everybody, but hey, I'm down 16 pounds. I guess it's contributed to something, so I'll just keep going.
No, that is excellent. That is good stuff. Still Diet Cheerwine's gross. Chiefs coach Steve says good evening to all.
Good evening to all.
Domer, which player does Berhalter ruin with a stupid injury during this international break? It's got to be somebody who's probably not going to play but have to run sprints after one of the matches and then hurt themselves going back to their team.
Right.
I got to look at the roster and figure this out. This is a very important thing. He's not going to be able to injure Christian Pulisic. He is leaving the U.S. camp, which isn't a surprise, really.
Yunus Musa?
Not expecting him to play. I think he's going to play. So,
okay.
Who would it be who's like on the edge of the team?
Johnny?
I kind of think Johnny's going to play. They've been talking him up. I think it's going to be Conrad, which would be really bad timing because Conrad de la Fuente might play for Barcelona now that they've got some injuries. I'm going to put my money on Conrad as the one that Berhalter pulls a Berhalter with.
Okay, so then I'll go with Owen Otasoe. I'll do that.
Okay, fair enough. El Mataflo says sup.
Sup.
And it's past Mataflo's bedtime.
What? Wow.
Yep. Or it probably will be by the time we get to the end of the show. Thad Dooley is a subscriber again on a 4-month streak. Thad Dooley, you rock.
TD to CB, you are awesome.
Happiest of Joe's is hanging out tonight. All the crazy things. He's throwing red cards around. He is a subscriber on a 4-month streak.
Sweet.
Very nice. Very nice.
Oh, apparently Antonio says I'm on one tonight.
Yes.
It's a laughing, crying emoji.
It's very early, and you already are, so I'm afraid of what 8:45 is going to bring. Yeah. Badger with a question. Now that it's the off season, I hope you're going to do more of the soccer stories, soccer files. That's what I called it. Really well done historiography of soccer in the ATL. Yeah, I definitely want to do more of those, and it might not be just ATL focused. I might kind of bounce around like different topics, American soccer, world soccer, whatever. It's just a fun way to kind of tell a story about somebody who might be forgotten about a little bit. So I'll definitely be doing more of those, Badger, for sure. No worries there. Let's see. So we're skimming through the comments on the Twitch pitch. This is going to be a very interactive Wall Pass Wednesday.
Yes. Yeah, we have Twitters when you want.
Okay. Domer said finding Cheerwine is like finding Schlitz. I never had Schlitz.
My mom did back in the 70s. And I'm not a beer guy, so I really can't sit there and
never
say
had the
that.
Schlitz.
Yeah, it was back in the 70s. That was something that my mom drank. I remember that.
Nice.
Just because it's Schlitz,
Yeah.
It's like, because, if it was like Michelob or, whatever, it's just like, yeah, you'd lump that in the pile of everything else, but Schlitz, it's just something that registers and you always remember it.
Okay.
It's different. It's a different name. It's like your Bravazzi. I remember you drinking Bravazzi because it's Bravazzi. If it's just hard seltzer, like Chicharito doing the ads for Bud Light seltzer, that kind of stuff. It just kind of goes in one ear and out the other. You got Bravazzi, and you found a place for it. So I remember you with Bravazzi.
So what Italian player or what player should be doing the ads for Bravazzi?
Oh, see now, you dig Bravazzi,
Mm-hmm.
and it has to be a worthy individual.
Roberto Baggio.
Okay.
Baggio Bravazzi. Come on, let's do it.
Okay. Oh yeah, and it's got to be somebody with a B. I think that you've gone onto something here.
I like the alliteration. I'm a fan.
Baggio for Bravazzi.
That could work.
I like that. Gigi Buffon.
No, that could work. I could see Buffon sipping on a Bravazzi.
Having a Bravazzi, in the middle of a match or something.
Yeah, I could see that. Mataflo with a fun fact of the evening. Soccer is an abbreviation of the word association, which was created by the English. In other words, if they get mad about it, they need to be upset with themselves. I like that argument, and I've seen it in other places as well, when you'll get somebody who's all like, it's football, it's not soccer. Soccer's stupid American. You came up with the word, guys. The thing that I like in crossing over with the soccer files conversation, kind of old school history stuff, if you go back through like the early days of soccer in Atlanta, and soccer in Atlanta was first played, the first game that I've ever seen on record was like 1907. After World War I, there was a real push to have like a local league, and it was starting to grow, and the soccer people in town, which were all playing and trying to like get it into schools and stuff like that, they were called the Soccerites.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I like the Soccerites.
Yes.
They had they had like, I guess it was the 1920 equivalent of a barbecue or banquet or something, and it was a smoker.
Yeah, a Soccerite smoker. That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, totally. They had a smoker at the end of the season to celebrate their great success.
Okay, so if you had a smoker.
Like, are we talking a 1920s smoker? Or
No. Like, if we had an SDH smoker.
Okay.
What a typical item would you bring to the smoker?
So we're having some form of a potluck.
Yeah.
Except fancy.
With a grill that will be fully functional, and we'll bring Mike over and he can reverse some things.
We're definitely doing that. Well, I mean, since I'm wearing the Argentina shirt and I've been all on the Argentine stuff as of late, I'll bring the morcilla.
Okay.
Do you even know what that is?
No, I don't. Tell me.
No, you need to have it. You need to try it.
Okay. Well, so you're not going to tell me what it is, and I just have to try it blindly.
Yes, that's the best way to try it. That's how I tried it. I might not have tried it otherwise, but I did, and it was really good. It was delicious.
Okay.
And I had some morcilla in Mexico City at the Argentine restaurant the night before the CONCACAF match. And the last dinner I had out somewhere was in Mexico City at an Argentine restaurant. It was amazing.
Okay, blood sausage. Okay.
Yeah, it's different. Like, it's not it's not blood pudding. It's not. I don't think. I don't think it's not like blood pudding. I know that much. It's I think when it's done in an Argentine fashion, like it's got some rice in there. It's good stuff when it's good. I've had it when it hasn't been as good, and I didn't really like it. When it's really good, like I had at a real asado with some of our soccer folks here in town years ago, and at this restaurant in Mexico City, it's really good.
First type of sausage made from the slaughtered pig. The ground pork is mixed with pig's blood along with seasonings and spices, chopped onions, and filler, usually rice.
Mm-hmm.
Then piped into a casing shaped into cylinders, flash boiled to coagulate the blood, and hung up to cure.
Yep.
Generally cut morcilla into thick slices known as rodajas. Fry them in a bit of olive oil. Eat with bread as a tapa or snack.
Okay, I haven't had it like that. Interesting.
When cooked and crumbled, it becomes a favorite ingredient for stews such as cocida madrileño, as well as bean dishes, often placed in the pot along with other ingredients to simmer.
That sounds really good.
And then this website called The Spruce Eats has morcilla versus chorizo.
They're like two different things.
The comparison is an obvious one because both are products of the Spanish tradition of a pig's annual slaughter.
I mean, yeah, but
Both types of sausage consist largely of ground pork mixed with salt and other seasonings, especially paprika, piped into a casing to cure. But there are also significant differences.
One has blood.
Yes.
That's a big difference.
Yeah. The aging period much longer for chorizo than it is for morcilla, which raises another significant difference, whereas Spanish chorizo usually sliced thin and eaten much like an Italian salami. Morcilla is semi-cured, therefore must be cooked before eating.
Okay. You went a lot deeper than I was expecting.
Well, but you're like morcilla versus chorizo. I was just going to kind of leave it at that, but you went like, hey, there's a difference here.
I mean,
Argentina?
Yes. Nathan Lane?
No, it's what is that? Is that I don't think it's Family Guy. Oh, what's the one with the alien? Man, now I'm forgetting it. It's an easy show. Y'all are yelling at me in the Twitch pitch, I'm sure. Peter Griffin. I don't think that was Peter Griffin. American Dad. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Dad.
Thank you. Okay. God, rah. Yes, the show's already off the rails, and we're only 23 minutes in.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm going to run through very, very quickly and get caught up. Very, very quickly, so let's try not to get completely off the rails again.
Yeah,
let me go all the way back. All the way back. Good grief.
Uh-huh.
Good grief. Rabun County has Diet Cheerwine at the Ingalls, according to Badger.
Hey, that's right across the border. I understand
See,
that.
there you go. You are bootlegging Diet Cheerwine. That is accurate, Jason Nix.
Yes, that is accurate, Jason Nix.
Winter Wind says Publix has it all the time, so you don't even need to bootleg it anymore.
Okay.
There you go. J-Dub says, got here late. How does John drink full sugar Mountain Dew but Diet Cheerwine? I'm confused. Explain.
I have to, thanks to my doctor's advice.
Still explain. That's not enough.
All right, fine.
You have a quotient, you said. That's what you need to explain.
Yes. Basically, back in January when I went and had my 6 month.
Oh, man, I don't know if you need to explain this much.
Well, but hey, you wanted me to go back and
No.
explain
I just wanted you to say, how many sugared drinks are you having a day?
1 cup a day.
1 cup a day.
1 cup a day, and that is by personal design because my physician's assistant thought I was fat. My body mass index was not. See, and this is another thing. Every time I go to the doctor's office, I'm either 5'11", 6 foot, or 6'1". I am 3 different heights.
Is it because of your hair?
Probably.
I mean, that's weird. That's like 2 inches is a big difference, John.
That's what I'm saying. And so what they do is when I'm 5'11", like, I guess, let's just say, after I get a haircut and go and get my physical, and I'm 5'11" for some reason.
What'd you do?
I don't know. They mismeasured me. And so what happens is when they measure me at 5'11", maybe I'm stooped over or something when they measure me. But when I'm measured at 5'11", my body mass index for whatever weight I am, because they weigh you with your clothes on, which includes a belt and a wallet and everything else. And like, I'm wearing blue jeans. Of course I'm going to be heavier than normal with a wallet and jeans and a belt and fully clothed.
How much do you have in your wallet, man?
Dude, have you seen the size? You've seen the size of my wallet. I'm going to break it out for everybody on the Twitch pitch just so you can see how thick this thing is. You see that? For those on the Twitch pitch.
That's
absurd.
The size of that's like going to pull muscles in your back when you walk.
This is what I'm saying. And so when they, for whatever reason, if I'm stooped over and they sit there, okay, you're 5'11" this time around. So if I'm 5'11" and 212 pounds, I guess, which is what I was back in January, instead of being 6'1", which is really what I am, and 212 pounds. The body mass index is like at a 26.8, and they freak out, and they're like, okay, you need to – the physician's assistant said, so you like to eat, don't you? And I'm like, no, I really don't. I just drink sugary sodas. And so now what I've done, because he yelled at me, is peel back to 1 sugary soda cup a day, except on football Fridays when I'm out in the field for 12 hours. And then the rest of the day, it is a 0-calorie beverage. And it has taken me forever to find a 0-calorie beverage that tastes like the original. That's how I stumbled upon Diet Dr. Pepper. Therefore, since I had no Diet Dr. Pepper in the house, I went to the Secret Reserve.
The Secret Reserve.
It is down here in the office in case of emergency. This is like my break glass moment. Since I don't have any Diet Dr. Pepper in the house, my break glass moment, pulled out the fire extinguisher or the axe, In this case, the drinking fire extinguisher is the Diet Cheerwine. That's where we are. 1 sugary soda a day during morning SDH, and now I'm irate that I'm having to drink diet sodas this late at night.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
And Rich Ransom says, if this is me at 7:30, then I really need hashtag SDH After Dark ASAP.
Oh, my God. This is insane.
And Joe Bost says, I apparently have scoliosis. Tell the PA to leave you alone.
Yeah, seriously.
No, I don't. It's not scoliosis. You know, it's just like you're lazy and you're tired and it's early in the morning. You're just kind of like, yeah, okay, I'm here. Your shoulders are slumped and you really aren't standing up straight and everything. So that's the deal. I mean, they measured seriously. I've gone in three separate times for my 6-month physicals. I'm 6'1", I'm 6 foot, I'm 5'11". It's like Seinfeld. Pick a height and stick with it.
Okay.
Like, damn. Yeah, I know my body mass index is a 26.8, but that's only because you measured me at 5'11". Fine, I'm drinking diet soda now. Are you happy? I imagine they are.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We're going to try to move on. Try being the key word. We'll get into Shiva had a comment about Frank de Boer and the Dutch national team, and everybody's taking their shots.
And Jake Michaels has a Frank de Boer Tata question.
Yeah, everybody's taking their shots. We'll talk about it. Of course, people are looking for reasons to take their shots at our good friend Frank. The SDH Asado, which is what Katie Weaver's called it, and I think that is absolutely the way to go. This is absolutely going to happen after we're done with this pandemic thing completely. Elsewhere Brewing, the new one over in Grant Park, they have an asado. Like, they have a they have an Argentine-style menu. I mean, I guess there's some German in there because there's a lot of sausage. But it is an asado-style menu. They have asados, so we will be doing something with them as an SDH asado with morcilla and choripan and all this kind of stuff. So it will happen. I just don't know when. There's a pandemic and stuff that's outside of our control, and it keeps getting worse.
Yeah, so it will happen. We don't know when, and we're looking forward to it.
Yes, and people are already talking about what they want to bring, and people are getting out of hand with it, and yes, all the things. Talk about all kinds of different things here. Eating some gooey. You can look that one up too, John, if you want.
How do you spell that one? Thank you.
C-U-Y, John.
C-U-Y.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, guinea pig?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. I haven't had that, so I really can't.
A traditional Peruvian dish also called cobaya or conejillo de Indias.
Yes. There you go. J-Dub says you need to talk to your doctor. BMI is not a good way to figure out health. It's a very overrated stat.
I love you, J-Dub.
Winter Wind said, I actually had a doc years ago where the height measure on their scale was 4 inches out of adjustment. Man, that's really bad.
Wow.
That's really, really bad. Man, this show's going to be... I apologize in advance. I apologize for what's already happened. I continue to apologize. That's just basically where we're at. You need an intervention, according to Soccer for Good OG. I think that's right. Monoflow says many interventions. Yes.
Intervening what specifically would be the question?
Anything and everything. Salt deficiencies, probably. You need a little purple sticky punch, according to Domer. Byrne says, there's a BMI calculator online. You can just put in the correct height. And now there's arguments about BMI being fake news. Good times. Man, what a show. Okay, Frank de Boer. Let's go ahead and talk about Frank, because this won't take very long. They drew today. Everybody has thrown up the stat that made the rounds, and all the folks have got their sniping in. No wins in his first 4 games. It is the worst start ever because there's never been a manager who has not won any of his first 4 games with the Dutch national team. He's got 1 loss, 3 draws. Drew both games that were competitive games that counted in the Nations League. They're in second. They're going to advance. There's nothing wrong with that. Drew Spain today, which it's at home. I mean, if you want to really nitpicky, okay, I don't know what the numbers were. I don't know if they were favored. Lost to Mexico, and that was his first game, and he had 2 Nations League games coming up in that window. This whole thing playing 3 games in a window is really stupid, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really stupid.
Yeah.
And he lost the one to Mexico. He's drawn the other 3. So, I mean, yeah, he hasn't won in his first 4. He's the first one to do that, but maybe a little bit of an overreaction. The game against Bosnia and Herzegovina, they dominated and should have won the game. That's on him. I mean, they had the chances. They got to finish. So I did not watch the friendlies today because I just don't care about friendlies, especially when it's game 1 of 3 in a week, which is stupid. Yes. You want to know why why this is stupid? Nathan Ake, 6 minutes into the game, pulled a hamstring. He's out.
Yep.
Joe Gomez doesn't even get to the game, and he's out. And Liverpool's throwing their hands up and very angry, and I don't blame them. Knee injury sustained in training for Joe Gomez. Severity's unclear. Obviously, it just happened. What was upsetting was to see he was in a fair bit of pain. No one was around him when the injury happened. That is a very, very bad sign. So, you're having this happen, and Gareth Southgate nailed it. Gareth Southgate said this. There are lots of discussions about extra subs, but the bigger picture here is everybody in the game needs to work together. With a Winter World Cup, there was an opportunity this year to think differently. The pandemic has thrown up all sorts of difficulties for people, but everybody has tried to cram the program into a smaller period. We are going to see injuries. It's a desperately sad situation. When you see the impact on an individual, it hits home even more. These discussions should have happened in the summer. We could have adjusted the calendar in its entirety and all worked together, but people haven't done that. Burn. Nobody saw this coming. ...
Yeah.
People, yeah. Some people didn't see it coming somehow. The rest of us were all like, hey, this is going to be a problem. Hey, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. This is why you don't play 3 games in an international break. This is why you don't play 3 games in a week all the time. This is why you don't schedule like this currently. But you are, because this is all very stupid. That's basically where it is. J-Dub, I'm actually going to defend Liverpool here. J-Dub says, poor plucky upstarts. Maybe they can make a GoFundMe to raise some funds. In January, they have to go get a defender, and there's no way around it, and I don't think they need the GoFundMe. I think they'll be okay. Yeah. But they've had some really bad luck. I mean, the Van Dijk injury, now Gomez. I mean, it's bad. It's bad for them. I feel bad for them. Don't worry, they'll do something silly. Klopp will say something, and I'll go back to the other side. But I feel bad for Liverpool right now because they were already in a bad way for defenders, and now Joe Gomez is hurt on national team duty.
Nathan Pugh says, is footy the worst? For crap's sake.
See,
talking about Joe Gomez.
See? The Liverpool fans are up in arms. And I can't really blame them. I mean, it's really, really bad luck for the plucky upstarts right now.
What was the joke? One of the many jokes that came out when folks were talking about the website 538. People were saying that that's the number of center backs that Liverpool was going to have this year. That was what it was named for.
It feels about right. That is definitely a possibility. I don't think that's accurate, but I think that is a possibility. It's still only November. More things could happen. It's not going to stop. I mean, even the substitutions, like that's going to help a little bit, but it's just not going to stop. Let's go back to Frank for a minute. Soccer Forget OG with a question. Do you think that Darren and Carlos might be a little perturbed/embarrassed that Frank sold them on the notion he would play more attacking? Do you think that Frank may have been a bit arrogant in his thinking that he could impose his superior soccering philosophy on those poor saps in MLS? I'm going to say kind of no to both. I don't think Frank was naive to think that he could come in and just do whatever he wanted and everything would be fine. I think he had at least a decent understanding that MLS wasn't a pushover. And I think he intended to play an attacking style. I really do. I just don't think he ever found it consistently.
Yeah.
You know, you look back at the second half of last year, and I thought he got good for a little while with what he wanted them to play like. It didn't stick as long as you would have hoped. I'm trying to pull up like a little bit of a time frame here. Like I always point back to the week where they won Campeones Cup. I feel like the win at home against New York City and the win in Portland. The win in Portland was the best win of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That week, so let's go from after the LAFC game out in LA. You come back home, you beat the LA Galaxy, no Zlatan in that one, but you beat them 3-0 on August 3rd. You go to Orlando without Joseph. Remember, he was injured the day you were traveling or the day before you were going to travel for the Open Cup semifinal. You went down there and you won 2-0 and attacked. I mean, even without Joseph, it was the game where they kind of played two false nines in a lot of ways in their 3-5-2. I think it was Pitti and Barco up top, and it was really weird and strange, and it worked eventually. Then you beat New York City 2-1 at home. Then you won the Campeones Cup 3-2 over Club America. Then you went to Portland and won 2-0. So between August 3rd and August 18th, 15 days, you won 5 games. You scored 2 or more in every game. I think that's the one where, okay, this is good. It's also 5 games in 15 days.
Yeah.
Then you went to Orlando and won 1-0 in a tight game on the 23rd. You won the Open Cup final, which you had a 2-0 lead. You had a red card. You give up a goal. It's 2-1. You had to grind it out. That's where the wheels started to come off, because then the next game was in Philadelphia. And that was the game that you had a really good first half. You scored one of the goals of the season, and then the team was running in quicksand in the second half. They were dead tired. They lost that. International break. Came back and lost to Columbus on the other side of the international break. That was the shocking loss for me at this point in the season. Then, I mean, you kind of righted it for a little bit. You went to Cincinnati and won 2-0. You dominated. You beat San Jose at home 3-1 in a good win. You lost Joseph at that point. Then it gets tricky again, where you lose at Yankee Stadium 4-1 in an awful game, and just it was awful all the way around, even though you had chances at the very beginning. You get an early goal, maybe we're having a different conversation. You went to Montreal, drew 1-1, played New England on decision day, won 3-1, then beat them 1-0 in the postseason. So it's like it was up and down at that point. It took, honestly, till then, I think, for it to really start to open up. And you had that really good 2 weeks where I think that was where they wanted to be and build from there. They couldn't. Now, I do wonder what this season would have been without the injury to Joseph, because I think the 3-4-3 with the 2-10s, with the way they were playing against Motagua in the last CONCACAF game, I liked where it was headed. We'll never know. So there's a little bit of what would have been, what could have been with Frank in Atlanta. I don't think it was as bad as he gets credit for. I don't think the front office would feel like he sold him a bill of goods. I don't think he came in and thought the league would be easier. I think it just worked out the way it worked out. I don't really have any ill will towards it. Maybe that's just me.
No, I mean, for me, when Frank DeBoer was brought in, I had the Crystal Palace discussion fresh in my head, where he told Crystal Palace up front it was going to take 6 months for him to get his systems in place and his ideas in place for them to be in that globe of where Frank wanted things to be. And they gave him 6 weeks, basically, and the Burnley game was the end of it all. And when Frank was active with Atlanta United, wasn't that time frame about 6 months when they had that run of form from the time that he took the job?
Yeah, and that was what he said when he came here, too. That's pretty consistent. And you go back, and, I mean, just really quickly looking back at last season, you had the Franco Escobar injury on day 1 of preseason. That forced Frank, in his estimation, and people have questioned him on it, that he didn't have a right back, or he didn't trust a right back at that point, so he played a 3-4-3. That was different than the one that they played a little bit towards the later part of the year that was a little more 3-5-2, and definitely different than the 3-4-3 they played in 2020. He didn't feel like he had a right back he could play. He didn't trust Julian Gressel as a right back. He trusted him as a right wing back. So that changed the way he wanted to play. When Escobar came back, they went into the 4-3-3. They were more defensive. They were very good in the 4-3-3. They were more defensive in it. They weren't creating a ton of chances, but they were shutting everybody out. They were very good defensively. That's where you started to have the friction and back and forth, and then it started to open up. And it opened up with the game against Houston, which was a 5-0. You had an early red card. That obviously helps. But you were coming off of short rest from Seattle, where Escobar got a horrendous yellow card that he shouldn't have gotten. He got suspended, and Breck Shea injured his knee. And you had no outside backs to play 4 in the back. So you had to go back to 3 in the back with wing backs, and it's Justin Merrim who draws the assignment at wing back. And that really worked for a while. From then on, we talked about after the LAFC game, but you had 2 games before that you won 5-0 and 2-0 against Houston and D.C. You were at home. You went to L.A., lost 4-3. Then you come back and you win 5 in a row. And out of that run, so 8 games, eight games, you scored 2 or more goals. That's pretty good and pretty attacking. You lost 1 of them. You won 7. And one was the cup final was after it. That's pretty good. that's a lot of goals. So I don't know. It's hard. Jason Nick says Frank's already on the hot seat, or is everybody making too much of a meh start? I'm leaning towards the latter.
Yeah. Michael Bucklew on Twitter says people are still trashing FDB. Wow, some fans need to get over it. I don't think he did poorly, and he obviously was not the lone problem this year. Get over Crystal Palace, folks.
Yeah, it's not all Atlanta fans. I mean, it's just everybody taking shots at Frank DeBoer. He's a punching bag at this point. It's kind of sad. I hope he has some success because, as I've said many times, Frank was always good to us.
Yeah,
Frank was always a really, really nice guy and had no problem with him at all. So I hope it goes well for him. I hope he at least gets a shot.
Jake Michaels, he says, for the show tonight, looking at the tenures of Tata and FDB, both around 2 years, do you think the front office will be looking for someone to stay longer, or is the 2-year and done strategy sustainable, thinking about culture / roster turnover, etc., and does coach turnover affect that?
It's a good question. I think in general, 3 to 4 years is the proper lifespan. You don't have a lot of coaches who can continue to be successful after that, unless you're going to turn over the roster in a dramatic way in that time, which if you are, then okay. I mean, look back at Sir Alex Ferguson's run at Manchester United. It felt like he was remaking the team every 5 years or so, which you have to do because you have to do one of 2 things. Either you have to change your approach or keep adding to your approach to where you don't get stale, or you got to change the players because they get tired of listening to you and they get tired of doing what you're asking them to do. So one's got to give. In a college situation, yeah, you can stay as long as you want, as long as you're winning, because the players are going to come and go every 3-4 years. In a pro situation, maybe not. But if you're going to change over that roster a lot, maybe you can have somebody stay longer. I think 3 to 4 years is the magic number. You want more than 2.
Yeah.
Honestly, you want more than 2. 3 to 4 is kind of what you're looking at, in my opinion. So it's not a dramatic difference. But yeah, you'd like to get into that situation. But that wasn't the plan for either one of these. I don't know if you really knew what the plan was with Tata Martino and how long he would last, but he wanted to be able to go home from time to time. So he didn't want to manage at a club anymore. He wanted a lower pace of coaching and lifestyle. Doing a national team is that, so he could go home some. That maybe changed for him from when he was hired to when he made the decision to leave, not take a new contract. Okay. You bring in Frank, I don't think the intention for Frank was 1.5 years or 2 years at all. I think it was a longer period of time. It didn't work out. So now you got to go and find somebody again. But I think you're hoping for somebody who's going to stick around longer. I do. I just don't think it's like 10 years. I think it's 3 to 4.
Yeah. Because there's always that certain point, and it varies from coach to coach, where you always hear about the message getting stale and things like that. And so that's you want to you don't want to have that happen. You want to make sure that everything gets stopped before that message gets stale as a part of your coaching cycles.
Yeah, absolutely. Burned with a good point on the Twitch pitch. I always cringe when I hear the debate about attacking style soccer in Atlanta. You can attack without playing fast. Eels thought they would play fast, and FDB wanted to play more carefully but with the ball. Classic misunderstanding. That's a good point. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't in the conversation, so I can't tell you if it's a misunderstanding or not. I do think Frank wanted them to play faster than they did early on, but I think that was part of building to it. Any team you look at, a coach comes in year one, generally that's not their best year. I mean, even the Jose Mourinho years, when he would win in year 2, and in year 3 is when everybody wanted to kill him. That's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Frank wanted to build something, and he was managing last year to build something. And I think they got better as they went. Like we said, the run that they went on where they scored a bunch of goals. And they played faster at that time too. But I think he was very, very locked in on wanting to be better defensively, which Tata Martino was too. That's not new. Like when you look back at winners in this league for sure, you've got to be good defensively.
Yep. You
have to. You're not going to win if you're shipping a whole bunch of goals. So in a postseason especially, you've got to be able to lock it down. Goals dry up in those situations. So you got to be good enough defensively to get the job done. I think he was building to play faster, but he wanted to put the building blocks in place. Didn't get there. I don't think the team played as well as he wanted it to play, or as fast, or as attack-minded. All that stuff. I don't think they got as far as he wanted them to get. They weren't there. The injury to Joseph derailed it. Yep. And then you're on a rescue mission. And he failed on the rescue mission because the tournament in Orlando was not good. And it sounds like there were issues off the field too. So it's a bad combination of things. You got to make a move. You did. That's what happens. But I don't think the intention was to play defensive, play slow all the time. I do think there was an intention to pick up the pace. Just didn't get there consistently enough.
Ricky Ricardo with a public service to catch us up on Twitter. Prime Video has released their first 15-second promo on exploring the story behind the FIFAgate scandal. El Presidente is now up on Prime Video.
Oh, very nice.
So it is another short series from our folks at Prime Video. So if you got that and you want to see the FIFAgate scandal in serial form or in episodic form, there you go.
Very, very nice. I'll have to check that one out. Okay. Domer says that Atlanta did get better at that 6-month line. I agree. Mataflo says, when I think attacking soccer, I think Jeff chokeslamming some dude at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I can't really argue that. Okay. Let's get into the MLS award finalists because I think there's some that are wrong. And we're going to talk about it. So let's work backwards. I don't have an opinion on the assistant referee of the year. No offense to our assistant referees. I'm not one to judge their performances.
Right.
Referee of the year, I feel like I might be able to judge a little bit. Jair Marufo, Ismail Elfath, Joe Dickerson are your 3 nominees. Ismail Elfath was in the middle on this last match. We've seen Marufo fairly recently. We saw Dickerson. I can't remember which game it was. I can't remember which game it was that we saw Dickerson fairly recently. I remember it not being necessarily great. I will go with Marufo maybe off of recent experiences.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go as well.
I would have given it to Elfath, but I was not happy with his performance on Sunday.
True.
I just was not. Sorry.
Dickerson was the DC United match earlier this month, in October.
He was the one who got hung out to dry by his 4th official on the Russell Canal substitution in, which shouldn't have happened, which, by the way, has still not been punished.
I haven't heard anything about that.
Might need to make an announcement that we know that people are actually paying attention to illegal substitutions, just saying. He also allowed Yamil Assad to tackle Brooksland from behind with no red card. So, yes.
Yep.
I knew, Soccer for Good OG, I knew there was something he had done that was bad, but I could not remember what it was. So, no, he doesn't win because of that. Marufo wins, I think, because he did a game fairly recently, and it wasn't that bad. So, I will give it to Marufo. I do think Ismail Elfath is a very good referee. I think he had a bad day on Sunday.
Yeah,
I think he got the penalty situation wrong. He got an earlier penalty situation wrong. He gave the weakest of the 3 penalties to Atlanta. And he got a little emotionally wrapped up in the game towards the end. It happens. It's okay.
Yeah.
But, yes, he had a bad day. Comeback Player of the Year finalists. So, honors an MLS player who has overcome injuries and or adversity in order to achieve success during the 2020 regular season. Kevin Molino, Milton Valenzuela, Bradley Wright Phillips. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
What did Bradley Wright Phillips come back from other than a change in club and not starting until injuries had him start?
Let's see what it was. Bradley Wright Phillips, last season, what did his 2019 look like for the New York Red Bulls? He started 9 games. He played in 24. Played in 24 of 32. It's not missing that much. He scored 8 goals and 6 assists in 18 games this season. That's pretty good. He didn't really come back from much, did he? Because he kind of played a lot.
Yeah.
Mataflo is really going into the deep dive on how soccer and rugby and names and all of it. It's great stuff in the Twitch pitch. I highly recommend it.
That's awesome.
Also, somebody said Mataflo might be broken and he needs to be unplugged and plugged back in, which I don't know.
Delete.
I don't know. But I love it. I love seeing these come in. Mataflo's been doing a lot of classic football research this year, and he's sharing it with the class. I enjoy it. Thank you, Mataflo. Bradley Wright Phillips should not be nominated here. I just think that's kind of silly, in my opinion. Kevin Molino has had injuries. I'm trying to remember how much he played last year. Let's see. 2019 for Mr. Molino. 17 games, only started 11. I think it was a knee. And he had a knee injury the year before, too. So, I mean, I think he actually came back midway last year, if I remember right. So, okay. Valenzuela missed last season due to knee injury suffered in preseason. Absolutely a candidate. Where is Florian Velo?
Yeah.
Where is Florian Velo?
Yep.
We're not even an hour into the show, and I've had to defend Liverpool, and now I am picking up for a New York Red Bulls player what is happening, but Florian Velo should be on this list.
Totally agree.
Madness.
Mm-hmm.
Monteflo says he is still coming back. He played a lot this year. He's legit. I like Florian Velo as a player anyway. That would be my pick, but he's not a finalist, so I'm going to go with Valenzuela because I feel like he's actually coming back from the furthest.
Exactly. So I'll go with Valenzuela as well after not being involved in anything last season and back this season.
Winter Wind, early pick for comeback player of the year in 2021, Joseph Martinez.
Joseph.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Coach of the Year, the Siggy Schmid Coach of the Year finalists, and I'm very glad that this is named after Siggy Schmid, one of the all-time greats in American soccer. Jim Curtin, Oscar Pereja, Greg Vanny. What say you?
Curtin.
Why? Make your case.
I mean, you look at his body of work over time, the progression to where they are as the best team in the East. I know that you can make just as equal a case for Pereja. It would not hurt my feelings either way if you made a case for Pereja going up against Curtin, considering what Orlando hasn't done, haven't been into the postseason, never made it. Pereja comes in, Luis Muzzi comes in, and they create the situation that they're in right now. I guess what I'm looking at for Curtin is body of work and progression to get to this point to where you're the best team in the East. You don't have the budget that a lot of other teams do. You're having to do it internally, making smart transactions. So that's why I'm leaning toward Curtin, but I could see just as much for Pereja.
I think you got it wrong on both accounts. I think it's Greg Vanny, actually.
Okay.
Because generally, and Jim Curtin's been excellent. Most years I would give this to Jim Curtin. Most years it's the guy who wins Supporter Shield. I think Vanny won it in 2017 when he won a treble. He had a great team. What was the degree of difficulty there? This year, for him to be where he has been with Toronto, how many games has Michael Bradley played this season? 12.
Yeah.
How many games has Josie Altidore played this season? 13. He's played 744 minutes.
And how many have they played at BMO?
4, 5, maybe?
Yeah, the Canadian cycle, yeah.
They might have had one more before that, did they? I don't know. Maybe they had one the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, the Canadian cycle, MLS is back, and the one before everything changed. So that.
Yeah, I don't know. Not much. So he's had that degree of difficulty. I mean, he's had to play a lot of people this season. and get creative with it. I think he's done an amazing job. Like the amount of adversity he's had to deal with, I'd give it to Greg Vanney. The biggest lift from last season, as Jason Nick says, it'd be Oscar Pareja. Jim Curtin for just the body of work. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of the three. I would actually vote for Vanney.
Rich Ransom has already made his decision.
I'm sure he has.
He says, Rich says, Union win all the MLS awards, end of discussion.
No, that's not how we're going to do this. I'm sorry, Rich. We're gonna vote, even though we didn't get a vote. But we're going to vote.
And Joe Bost, going back to our comeback player of the year discussion, he says he's giving it to BWP just because he had to play for Red Bulls and they suck.
That's not coming back from anything, though, except sucking. But they didn't suck that much. So, no, he doesn't win comeback.
Is there an MLS Escape of the Year award? Maybe Joe would give that to BWP.
No, doesn't work. I mean, LAFC finished 7th in the West, so it's not like he went to something that much more magical this season. Leandro Gonzalez-Perez is laughing at Frank de Boer on Twitter. It's good times. Felipe Cardenas wrote, or he quote tweeted the Dutch football thing about de Boer's worst start, hasn't won any of his first 4 games. Felipe said, tough start for FDB, and that's a really talented Dutch team. And Leandro replied with 5 laughing emojis.
All right.
Okay. All righty, let's move on. Young Player of the Year finalist. This is a player aged 22 or younger. Brendan Aronson, Daryl Dike, Diego Rossi. What you think?
Not Rossi.
Why not Rossi?
He
won the Golden Boot. Why are you first off saying why not Rossi? What?
Well, I guess
he scored more goals than anybody in the league.
I'm looking at LAFC and where they are in the table, and
that's not what the award is.
I would have given. I guess, and it's because of what I'm seeing in the East, and so maybe this is East Coast bias. I would give it to DK.
DK's been really good. If it was Rookie of the Year, I'd agree. But this is Young Player of the Year, player under 22. It's got to be Rossi.
All right.
He was the Golden Boot winner. Yes, Diego Rossi wins. End of discussion.
All right.
Newcomer of the Year finalist. For this award, newcomer is defined as a player with previous professional experience who made his MLS debut in 2020. Lucas Zelarayan, Alan Pulido, Robert Beric.
Alan Pulido.
¿Por qué?
Because you look at, and I guess I'm looking at these awards in certain degrees, like MVPs. How would the team be without that particular individual?
That's not what the award is.
I know, but
so then you're doing it wrong.
So defined as a player of professional experience. So Pulido, I like what I've seen from Pulido and his integration with the success of Sporting Kansas City. I know that Beric has been a part of Chicago's growth for the Fire. Zelarayan, the injuries, not playing in every single match or having that impact for me would be the reason that I would not have had Zelarayan as a part of the discussion. That's why I have Pulido.
Jason Nick says you are making your own meaning for awards, and I would agree.
Yes.
That's improper. I do agree with you. It's Pulido, though. I think Pulido's been the best of those 3. Beric is really close. I like Robert Beric a lot.
Yeah. I had him on my fantasy team at points.
There you go. I like Zelarayan as a player as well. I do think the injuries would take him out of it for me. Pulido is the one who would get it. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
All-State Goalkeeper of the Year finalists, Matt Turner, Aloy Room, and Andre Blake.
Because Rich Ransom is influencing my opinions with his previous statement.
Okay. Well, I guess that solves that. It's hard to argue against Blake. Let's look at a couple of things. Goalkeeper's always a tough one when we get into these awards because, what are you going by? You're going by a goalkeeper who has a lot to do? Are you going by a goalkeeper behind a great defense? Are they challenged as much? What are you looking for? Saves this season, it's Sean Johnson by a lot.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. Marco Maric, Clement Diop, Joe Willis, then Matt Turner is 5th in terms of saves. Clean sheets is what I was wondering here.
Okay.
let's see where they fall on that. So in terms of clean sheets, Joe Willis had 9 to lead the league. Blake had 8 in 2 fewer games. Yeah, Joe Willis isn't up for this. What? Now I'm kind of, I think this is another one where they got it wrong.
Yeah.
D. Graham's saying Joe Willis goalkeeper of the year. I'm talking myself into it.
I was going to say, if we could go off the board and bring folks in as a part of this. Yeah, because, I mean, if in another one of these awards that's coming up, I was going to lead toward that team, which, of course, now gives you the idea of who that individual is, who I would be nominating. Along those same lines, I would have had that goalkeeper for that club as a part of this discussion as well.
That was cryptic. Okay.
Well, I don't want to give away a future award discussion, but...
Fair enough. Yeah. Matt Turner would not be on the list for me.
No.
He's 5th in saves. He had 6 clean sheets. No, he doesn't make it for me. Joe Willis should have been on the list, and Joe Willis should be winning. If I had to pick off of this list, I'll go with Blake.
Yeah.
Aloy Room's really close, though, but he only played in 17 games of the 23. He had 7 clean sheets in the 17. Burns said not Galese. Didn't watch a lot of their games, so maybe I'm completely off. Galese was really good for them. He only had 3 clean sheets out of 19 games. That surprised me when I saw that number. That was a little surprising. I would have thought they would have had more.
Yeah.
That's maybe what keeps him off the list. Joe Willis, that's where I would go, but I'll go Blake since I don't get to pick Joe Willis. Defender of the Year finalists: Mark McKenzie, Jonathan Mensah, Walker Zimmerman.
And this was my cryptic from previous. So I was going to say Zimmerman.
You were going to say Zimmerman. Why?
Because in a first-year club, for Nashville to be built the way that Gary Smith was wanting to build them, you needed that stabilizing force. You got Walker Zimmerman from Los Angeles. Los Angeles, we see the difference in what Los Angeles is without Walker Zimmerman and what Nashville is in part and parcel with Walker Zimmerman. And considering first-year club making the playoffs, what we've seen out of Nashville and how they've grown into the season, that's why I was going to give it to Zimmerman.
I don't hate that. I think Walker Zimmerman was definitely the trade of the year. I have no problem with that. I think that was a brilliant move to get Walker Zimmerman, and I don't think they overpaid for him. Would he be my defender of the year? McKenzie and Mensah. Mensah's got all the hype. Everybody has said it should be Mensah.
Yeah.
I believe I'm skimming through at the moment on SofaScore and ratings. Walker Zimmerman, I believe, is the highest rated defender of these 3. Donovan Pines is actually more highly rated, but I think he's got some goals mixed in, and that can tweak it a little bit. So Zimmerman is next. What did Walker Zimmerman do this season in 22 starts? We're going to judge him on defending. So he had 1.7 interceptions per game. He was part of 9 clean sheets. He won a tackle per game, over 5 clearances per game. Great in the air, one of the best in the air in the league, dangerous on set pieces. How many goals did he end up having? 3 goals for the season. Man, it's kind of hard to go against him. Let me see if I can build a case. So, Mensah. That is
played every freaking minute of the year.
That is a big step in the right direction for Jonathan Mensah, because that's very difficult to do. He was very good passing out of the back, better than Zimmerman. Not as much on the tackles, didn't maybe have as much to do in that regard. About the same on interceptions, part of 9 clean sheets, so that's the same. Better passer, maybe not as critical to his team's defensive success. Maybe it's a little more of a collective. Mensah's got a really good case. It's hard to be down on Jonathan Mensah's performance this year. And McKenzie is the other one from the Supporters' Shield winning Philadelphia Union.
The Captain America Shield winning Philadelphia Union.
Yes, and they should keep that thing. McKenzie, so got a couple of goals. Interceptions and tackles, 1.8 and 1.6, so that's even more than Zimmerman. Part of 10 clean sheets. I've talked myself into Mark McKenzie, and I thought I was going to end up in Walker Zimmerman.
Okay.
Rich Ransom wins.
Right.
It's McKenzie. I'm going to go with McKenzie based off the numbers. Okay. I think Zimmerman maybe had the most impact on his team, but again, it's not a MVP award. It is the Defender of the Year award.
Right.
So the best player in terms of defending this year, I'm going to give it to McKenzie. Ground duels won, aerial duels won, total duels won. Yeah, I mean he was a stud. Okay. So I'm going to go McKenzie.
All right.
Landon Donovan, MLS Most Valuable Player, finalists. Andre Blake, goalkeeper, gets into the mix. That's maybe foreshadowing that he's going to win the Goalkeeper of the Year award.
Yeah.
Nicholas Lodero, Jordan Morris, two Seattle Sounders, Alejandro Pozuelo, and Diego Rossi.
Okay, well, I'm looking at this strictly like the Oscars.
Wait a minute. No, so you've wanted to do all the other awards like an MVP, and now you're trying to do this one different?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't even make sense. And yes, I just did what Modaflow said I do all the time, but it's like, what are you doing?
Okay, well, Andre Blake, I think that Andre Blake being nominated, the fact that he's probably going to end up getting Goalkeeper of the Year, I don't think he's going to go away with 2 awards.
Okay.
Diego Rossi, since you, sir, have him as Young Player of the Year, I think that once again, for a team that is as low in the playoff rung on the west in the western side of things as LAFC is, but with Rossi having won Newcomer of the Year, in your eyes, I think that eliminates him because that's once again 2 awards, one night, not going to happen. I think that Nico Lodero and Jordan Morris, because they're both from Seattle, will split any kind of Seattle vote, so they cancel each other out, which to me means it's Alejandro Pozuelo for the reasons that you gave earlier about giving the Coach of the Year award to Greg Vanney.
So you actually are talking about it like a most valuable player, and you just spun a yarn to take it in a different direction. That was a yarn.
I done spun a yarn.
You did spin a yarn. Pozuelo, highest rated player according to SofaScore, ahead of Lodero, who's number 2. By the way, now that I'm thinking about what other ones they messed up, Newcomer of the Year is not Alan Pulido or Robert Barrett or Lucas Delarayon. It's Lewis Morgan.
Yeah, okay.
Lewis Morgan. I'm defending a Miami player. It's Lewis Morgan. I knew there was another one that I had on my list that I'm like, this doesn't even make sense. So Lewis Morgan, Newcomer of the Year, off the board. Man. Comeback Player of the Year, Florian Villot, off the board.
Joe Willis,
goal. That's 3. MVP, I think they got the right ones here. There's nobody else who should really be in there. Maybe Diego Valeri, but he hasn't started all season, so no. I think it's Pozuelo. I've thought it was Pozuelo for a while because he's really carried this team. There's a lot of push for Diego Rossi in the Twitch pitch, and it's a good argument. You know, where would LAFC be without Diego Rossi this year? Out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
That is part of it. I think Toronto would be nowhere near where they were without Pozuelo. I think the fall would be greater.
Yeah.
If you took Pozuelo out of Toronto based off everything else, and if you took Rossi out of LAFC based off everything else.
Yeah.
I think the fall would be even greater for Toronto, so that's why I'm going Pozuelo.
Okay.
And Winter Wind is arguing that Alan Chapman should be the referee of the year, so that's another one off the board. I don't have a problem with Alan Chapman as the referee of the year. I think I'd still go Marufo, and I would have gone Elfath before this past weekend, but I'm still cross with Ismail Elfath, so I can't give him the award.
As we all should, yeah.
I'm still cross with Ismail right now. Alan Chapman was one of the primary referees this year, and yeah, the numbers match the kind of referee I like, which is somebody who doesn't call a ton of fouls, doesn't blow the whistle a ton, doesn't throw a bunch of cards, but will make big calls when needed. Chapman gave 3 red cards. That's a little on the high side.
Yeah.
Yellows, less than 4 a game. That's a little on the low side. Fouls, under 22 per game. I like that. So generally I like that. Chapman's usually somebody that I like. I'll give it to Marufo this time, but Chapman should have been on the list at least. How about that, Winner?
There you go. That'll work.
How about that one?
Yep.
El Mataflo put a list of players in that first got it got blocked because he said Daryl Dike, and Daryl Dike gets blocked on the Twitch pitch. Poor Daryl Dike. You can't talk about him on Twitch. It's craziness.
Wow.
Jason Nick says all pro referees are tainted, so he doesn't even give a Referee of the Year award. That's harsh. Man.
So no ARs and no Rs.
Nobody. They don't have a VAR of the Year award. They probably should.
Yeah.
We need to have one of those coming up soon.
And frankly, I would just give Humanitarian of the Year to all three: Jeremy Abobasi, Mark Anthony Kay, and Justin Morrow, just because.
I'm down with
that. You've all done quality work. You all win.
I'm down with that. That works for me. I really can't judge that one because I don't know everything that they're doing. So yes, if we're going to judge it in that regard, I'm all in. Give it to all of them.
Yep.
Okay. Let us know what you.
So comeback player of the year. We went off the board. Did we go off the board and bring him below?
Yeah.
Okay. So off the board 1, off the board 2. So we went off the board for.
I went off the board 3 times. Joe Willis, Florian Velo, and newcomer Lewis Morgan.
Okay. All right. Morgan was the third one I couldn't think of. Okay, so 3 of the awards we've gone off the board. So we win.
Yes, I agree. We did. What in the world?
What? More bots?
No bots this time. The Twitch pitch is trying to create the superlatives of the year. We talked about that. We would do a superlatives of the year for Atlanta United. Maybe we need to do one for MLS as a whole. That could get totally out of hand. So here's what I'm going to challenge all of you who are listening to do, and you can let us know via email, via Twitter, via direct message. The Twitch pitch, you can discuss it there, but make sure that I get it in some other form. Right. What categories do you want for the Superlatives of the Year award? For MLS, for Atlanta United, we can do a little bit of both. That's completely fine. What categories do you want on the board? And then we'll throw some nominees out, and we'll have some voting. It'll be a good time, and we'll see what happens. It'll probably go off the rails, but yes, it'll probably be nuts. But give us your categories. Let us know where you want to go with it. All right, I'm kind of afraid for this, but we're going to see what happens for an 8-14 discussion of Steve Apolinsky.
Apolinsky & Associates, LLC, proud supporters and sponsors of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, if this is a discussion that you need to have, a couple different ways that you can do it with Apolinsky & Associates. You can shoot Steve an email directly, steve@aa-legal.com, or you can give him a call, get a free consultation, 404-377-9191. Or, if you believe in the World Wide Web, and don't think that you're going to get blocked by some kind of security function, like some work websites and work computers do, you can go to their homepage, aa-legal.com, large device or small, and when you hit the enter, the return, or the arrow key, on that homepage, a pop-up window pops up on the homepage, because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up 24/7, 365 and a quarter. I have no earthly idea who is answering these questions that you can pose on that pop-up window or inside of it. We have no earthly idea who the individual is behind the curtain.
I don't know.
It'd be nice. Maybe it's Jim Curtin. I don't know.
No, he's busy.
If you have any questions, you can do it that way as well. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in Georgia and Alabama for wrongful death and serious injury matters, recognized as legally by Georgia Trend Magazine for being one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia for wrongful death and serious injury matters. It is Apolinsky & Associates, LLC. The website is aa-legal.com.
Timing was pretty consistent. That's about usually where you end up.
Yeah, right there in that little baseline, trying to get that done.
That was impressive. I thought that could be more off the rails. I'm glad.
No. It's a promo. That's off the rails. I know that Nick wanted me to cut a promo and go off the rails, but no, that is a straight up advertising billboard that cannot go off the rails. I can't. The only way that could ever go off the rails is if I just never said the .com and kept going on the show. That would be the only way that would go off the rails.
Yes.
So if I ever did the Pat Summerall version and just said AA-legal. So what's next on the rundown for you? Wednesdays with Reddit.
Wow, you even got that right. He is on point tonight.
Bam!
So that's usually a soccer over there thing that happens. We got a fight brewing between Greg Berhalter and Gareth Southgate.
Uh-oh.
The headline from Avi Creditor at Sports Illustrated, England, Gareth Southgate still want U.S. call-up Yunus Musa's future, quote, to be with us, unquote.
Okay.
Yeah. Gareth Southgate, talking about Yunus Musa, who's played for England's youth national team, said, I know John, who is John McDermott, the assistant FA technical director. I know John has spoken with Musa's family, and they know where we sit with it. But also, we want to get that balance right of not just pushing him up the age groups quicker than we think is right, because we've got other boys in the system as well, and we don't want to promise things that we can't fulfill. It sounds as though he's going to meet with America this time and experience that. That doesn't rule him out of being with us moving forward. So we've just got to make sure that the boy and the family know that we think he's a good player, that he's on a good trajectory. We're monitoring him. He's been with us in the last couple of months, and we'd very much like his future to be with us.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with what he said.
No. But it'd be interesting to see how this dynamic continues to play out between those two.
Man.
I thought you were going to say that with there's something brewing between Southgate and Berhalter. It was going to be over who's the more Natalie attired of the two.
I mean, Greg Berhalter doesn't wear a waistcoat, so no, he can't win that award. I like the vest, by the way. I'm a fan of the vest.
I'm down. Like I said, I'm down with it. I'm just saying.
When have you ever worn a vest?
I've never worn a vest.
So then you're not down with it.
I'm down with how it looks on Southgate and how Natalie attired he is.
Natalie attired
on the touchline. Natalie attired.
Okay.
He's Natalie attired.
Okay.
It's a look that works for him. It's different. Would I wear a vest? No. I dig it when he looks.
Why wouldn't you wear a vest?
I've just never worn a vest, dude. It's just how it is. Only time, actually, I take it back. Only time I wore a vest was when I got married, when I had the tuxedo.
Okay.
Actually, no. Actually, I just wore a cummerbund because then you can't wear a vest with a cummerbund.
So
no, I didn't even wear a vest then. When I was trying it out and trying to figure out if I was going to go vest or cummerbund, I ended up with cummerbund. So
I'll always go vest in that situation. Did you wear a tux for prom?
I didn't go to prom.
You didn't go to prom, so okay, there's no vest.
Didn't go to junior or senior prom.
Okay. Yeah, I like a vest. I'm a fan of the vest. So, Jason Nix, John says no to vests and salt. Yeah, he's very strong on this. Yeah, I like a vest. Well, it'll be interesting to see where this goes for. It'll be very interesting to see where this goes. I mean, he's going to play more potentially with the U.S., although that's not a guarantee because Berhalter's talked about him playing centrally. That's where he's seen him play, which is where he's played a lot before recently with Valencia. So it's not Berhalter thinking too much here. Some people tried to accuse him of that one. This time I think he's okay with it. But central midfield, I mean, he's going to be competing for spots with Tyler Adams, with Weston McKennie, with Gio Reyna as a 10. I don't know where Berhalter sees him as a 6'8" or 10. I think it's probably as an 8. Weston McKennie's got a couple steps on him, I would think, at this point. But England players do too, so, I mean, what's going to be the best fit for him? It's going to be very interesting to see. I'm fascinated by this one, but I like that now we're getting into this conversation again. The U.S. is fighting for every dual national they can go find. They need to get Sebastian Soto. That's the one they need to make sure they get.
Yes.
Sebastian Soto is the one that they need to get.
Yes. I'm down with that. It's like I'm glad we're back to the whole point of the U.S. men's national team chasing after those that could go with one nationality or another. I'm glad that it's not. Oh, sorry, we didn't go after him, and no, there's no fight in chasing after dual nationals. And so now that we're seeing this, good. I want to see them turn and come back and decide to be a part of the USMNT.
Yes, they are. They're at least fighting for it. That's a good thing.
Yes.
Let's get updated on Barcelona. So Barcelona coming into today reportedly had to have their agreement done on their salary cuts. on their reduction negotiations they are currently undergoing with not just players, but staff too, everybody. They issued a statement today. After several days of intense meetings and negotiations exhausted, the parties have ended the consultation period without reaching an agreement. In this situation, it's up to the management board to adopt decisions to solve the serious financial problem derived from the COVID-19 pandemic, which caused a reduction in the club's income of more than €300 million for the 2020-2021 season and has forced a need to readjust the wage bill by €191 million. The parties have agreed to grant each other until November 23rd to reflect and decide whether the proposals that are currently on the table can be accepted. So they're basically in a cooling off period, but it is also said that the club is saying that the management board can adopt decisions. The management board, remember, they don't have a president currently, at least an elected one. They have an acting president. They need to set an election. Reportedly, they can't do that until January. They need to do it now because it should be the president who is overseeing this kind of situation. But you might have to have a board that was not elected make these decisions for the club that would affect the long-term future of the club. Yeah, it's a really bad situation. Really, really bad situation. I don't know how they resolve this without some major catastrophes. I really, truly don't.
I wonder, along those lines, who ends up, which players are on the move, which players get moved, how much pennies on the dollar are they going to be getting when they send these players out? You know, to me, it's looking at the situation in the cooling off period and all this kind of stuff. I just wonder when we get to the other side of it, who's going to be left and who's going to be out the door, and what's Barcelona going to look like on the pitch?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they look like on the pitch or off. Like, that's the problem, is there's just no way to know. I don't know. I really, truly don't know. Other things on the board today. France, they lost 2-1 or 2-0 at home to Finland. It is their first home loss to a side ranked outside of FIFA's top 50 since they lost to Belarus on September 3rd, 2010.
Wow.
It's a friendly. I mean,
I know.
How much does it matter? Antoine Griezmann had a very bad miss at the end of the game.
Oh, what happened there since I missed it?
He had a very bad miss. He had the ball inside the 18 and put it wide. I mean, it's bad. It's bad all the way around. So, not a good result for France. It was a good result for Portugal. They won 7-0 over Andorra in a friendly. They really needed to play that game, I'm sure. These friendlies were very, very important. Cristiano Ronaldo has now scored 50 goals after turning 30 years old. That's pretty impressive.
Yes.
You can't hate on that. I mean, you can say what you want about Cristiano, and there's a lot of things to be said, but that's impressive.
Yes.
That is very, very impressive. Winter Wind is absolutely shocked that Griezmann missed. Totally shocked. One thing we haven't gotten into in Portugal, and I haven't seen an update just yet, Portuguese authorities raided the offices of Benfica, Sporting Lisbon, and Santa Clara on Monday as part of an investigation into fraud, corruption, and money laundering.
That's not good.
All three clubs confirmed the searches and said they were collaborating with the authorities. Some homes and 2 law firms were also raided. This is related to the transfer of players. Sporting said in a statement the investigation is related to alleged irregularities from 2011 to 2014. Sporting, who was one of the clubs that was raided, congratulated authorities' efforts to promote transparency in Portuguese soccer. So they're saying it's old news, but they're congratulating them, but they were also raided, so they probably should say nice things.
Yes.
So, okay. Doesn't sound great.
No.
We'll see what happens with Portugal. No Porto. They were at least out of this, so they didn't get raided. Good news in Argentina today. Diego Maradona discharged from the hospital.
Yes, excellent.
He was taken to a recovery clinic. This thing got way off the rails for Diego because they took him to the hospital and we didn't exactly know what was going on. Then they discovered a bleed on the brain, and they had surgery. Then he was ready to go home, but he had alcohol withdrawal symptoms. It had been talked about that he had kind of substituted alcohol for some of his former vices that he's thankfully not doing still. Still not good that he had alcohol withdrawal in the hospital, so that kept him in there longer. Now he's going to a recovery clinic. His lawyer, Matias Morla, said, the good thing is that Diego is together. Diego is solid. Only a few close friends and family are allowed to visit him at the rehab clinic. The lawyer said, Diego has gone through maybe the most difficult moment of his life, and I think it was a miracle that they found this bleeding in his brain because that could have cost him his life.
I'm glad that we're hopefully on the other side of this for a while. I mean, it's when you have someone who is as iconic a figure and when he first went into the hospital and you were watching Tay say on your monitors there, and you're seeing everyone crowding around the ambulance as it's going to the medical center, and all of the chanting and the cheering and all of that, just as someone who means that much to an entire country and an entire region. And you want the best for that individual, knowing all of the demons, and that's the word that I'll use, that he has faced all of this time. You want him to pull through so he can continue to be that influence that we've seen on the touchline over the last handful of years to all these players, into this next generation of players back home. And so I'm just glad that we're to this next stage, and you just want him to continue to get better.
Totally agree, and hopefully it all works out.
Yeah.
Football Picante had a tweet earlier, Football Picante from ESPN Deportes, about Sergio Ramos. So Sergio Ramos tied a record today, 176 caps for Spain. That equaled Buffon's record for international appearances by a European player. That's insane for a field player especially. Sergio Ramos, 176 caps. Football Picante asked if he was the best, or can we call Sergio Ramos the best defender in La Historia? Is he the best defender in history? Liverpool fans are throwing things at the wall right now.
Yeah. I mean, because, all right, so let me come up with a short list here. And it may not be all that short. Now, let me see, and if I'm classifying these players correctly, let me know when it comes to defenders. Beckenbauer, Maldini, Puyol, Ramos. You see, now Nick needs to be a part of this discussion. Baresi, Cannavaro, Bobby Moore, Roberto Carlos, Cafu, PK. I know Van Dijk. So
Barca fans also throwing things at the wall. Thank you, Bernd.
Yeah,
Bernd says absolutely not. Bernd is angry about this. Football Picante said it, not me. I'm just asking the question.
And so Football Picante said what they said. And so just looking at a short list, there's a lot of folks here that could have a lot of debate as to whom would be their number one as the best defender of all time.
I might need to look back and see if people have clowned this comment a little bit. I wonder if there's some responses that are crazy. No, we cannot. Thanks for asking. Alfredo Corrales. I agree. Yes, he is not.
Okay, so Give Me Sport back in, I want to say April. Here's their top 10.
Okay.
And from 10 to 1. Nesta, Passarella, Maldini, Facchetti, Rijkaard, Bobby Moore, Cafu, Beckenbauer, Baresi, Maldini.
Let's make one thing, because this always starts some nonsense. Defender of the year for MLS, this was another person that was not in that discussion because of this nonsense.
Yeah.
Outside backs and center backs are looked at completely differently.
Okay.
The NYC contingent was campaigning hard for Anton Tinnerholm to be part of the Defender of the Year conversation, and they have a good, valid point. But outside backs and center backs, I think we have to separate. So let's separate it.
Sure.
Let's see. I'm not putting him as the best ever. He's one of the best.
Yeah.
He's the best Spanish defender of all time. He's the best Real Madrid defender of all time, I think, in a career. Because, I mean, yes, Cannavaro played there, but Cannavaro was not a Real Madrid guy through and through and through. So I wanted to check the France football category that they did of center backs.
Right.
To see who they pulled from that. Here we go. Make sure I got it in order. Okay, so their center backs that they had, as the page continues to reset. Let's get it right here. Center backs, according to France Football, this was in the vote for the Ballon d'Or Dream Team.
Right.
Baresi, Beckenbauer, Cannavaro, Desailly, Ronald Koeman, Bobby Moore, Daniel Passarella, Matthias Sammer, Gaetano Scirea, and Sergio Ramos was in the top 10, which I'm okay with. That's fine. Out of that group, I would go Beckenbauer ahead of him. I would go Baresi ahead of him. I would go... thought I might go Passarella ahead of him, but I don't. At least those two. Bobby Moore's a whole different era. It's a little hard to compare him here.
Right.
I'm going to leave him to the side. Cannavaro would be close, and I think there's arguments either way. I'll put him in the top 5. I'll put him higher than most, but I can't put him ahead of Baresi and Beckenbauer at all. Like I can't even. He's not there. I could argue he's third out of that group. I'd have no problem with that. But Beckenbauer and Baresi are ahead of him for me.
Okay, so Beckenbauer, Baresi, and then PK.
No, Ramos, not PK.
Ramos, sorry.
Yeah, come on. Now, Barcelona
Ramos,
fans are now throwing things again.
In the Give Me Sport rankings, they had Ramos 20th overall.
Oh, that's harsh. But that's all defenders too, so that's not that's taking outside backs into the mix as well.
Okay, so then let me go from 20 forward. So Ramos was at 20, and you can peel the other guys.
We'll just see who would go ahead of it. Because I mean, if we're going to go outside backs, just from the France football one, Maldini would be ahead of Ramos, and this is just for me off the top of my head. So Maldini definitely goes ahead, and then I would put Cafu potentially ahead. I would put Philippe Lahm potentially ahead. If we're including that, he falls further down, but not a ton further down. Okay, what's your 20?
Okay,
what's your next
20.
10? Your 10, your 11 to 20 at least.
Kaltz at 19.
Okay.
Aldair at 18.
Aldair, yeah.
Lucio at 17.
Okay.
Thuram at 16.
Yep.
Tassotti at 15.
Okay.
Colavati at 14.
Okay.
PK at 13. Costa Curta at 12.
They got PK 7 spots ahead of Ramos? No, that's wrong to me. That's wrong. I'll argue that one. That feels wrong to me. You might need to check credibility and check what shirt's in the closet. I think there's a Barcelona shirt in the closet for whoever put this list together.
Yeah, and then Costa Curta's at 12, Ruud Krol is at 11, and Nesta's at 10.
Krol is another one it's a different era, so it's a little hard to compare. Carlos Alberto is another one that's a different era. It's a little hard to compare.
Alberto they had at 26.
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, from the modern era, players who played in the 2000s.
Okay.
Let's have that conversation. So Desailly barely got into that. Cannavaro got into that. Ramos is obviously there. Piqué would be there. Roberto Carlos would be in that conversation. Marcelo would be in that conversation. Maldini played into the 2000s, so he would be there a little bit. Cafu played into the 2000s, so he would be there. Thuram would be there. Lahm would be there. Dani Alves, as Byrne says, should be there. Yeah, Dani Alves didn't make the France Football Ballon d'Or Dream Team. That is a little surprising now that you mention it. Winter Wind says he's a Barca fan and PK isn't better than Ramos. That's very impressive, Winter Wind. I knew I liked you.
Dani Alves, Give Me Sport has it 36.
Yeah, he should be higher than that. Byrne says Ramos is an abnormality in that he scores so much. As a pure defender, he's not top 10. Never. No, he's not the best defender ever. That's a stretch. But Top 20 of all time of all defensive positions. Sure, I can roll with that, I guess. Top center backs of all time. France Football had him in the top 10. Maybe argue against that a little bit, but modern times, he's still not the best. He's up there, but he's not the best.
Hi,
heel, though.
Hi, Jarrett.
Hey, John.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
See, okay. Now, Jarrett, Jason blames me for sending the show off the rails in the first half hour.
The first 10 minutes.
Okay.
And so I guess
he went on rant after rant.
Okay. That's what we used to do every morning, but okay.
It's true.
And so, now that we're in the final half hour of the show, I figured, I see you pop up, and I'm looking forward to you joining the fray. What's on your mind?
Well, I jumped in, and you're talking about best defenders of all time around the world.
Hey, Football Picante asked. They said, is Sergio Ramos the best ever?
No. I'm not mad about the conversation. Sergio Ramos is one of my favorite players of all time, but I love heels. He's a damn good heel.
That's true.
Peter Crouch will always hold a place in my heart, patron saint of tall people who want to be good at the game, and who was like sneaky good with the ball at his feet. Actually, not even sneaky good, straight up good with the ball at his feet. Just because he was 6'7", everyone just assumed he could play only with his head. Otherwise, on my mind, I mean, I guess I was kind of in an SDH mode, so I'm having to shift gears here without a clutch, because what I had been thinking about was the awards that were handed, the award nominees for MLS that were handed out. But I don't want to rehash the topic if you've already covered that.
No. We went off the board for a handful of them. So
you got you got 15 minutes, so you can say wherever you want on that. Go for it. Hold on, before you do that, Byrne had a point, and I need a refresher because I forgot. So we were talking about the dual national situation, Greg Berhalter now having to fight it out with Garrett Southgate. They might have to have a sweater or vest duel or something. I don't know. But Burns said you would be proud of Berhalter's recruiting tactics. I guess you had a rant about this a while back. Do you even remember said rant?
It probably had to do with the Americans just traditionally just not doing anything. Probably has to do with the last U.S.-Mexican war that happened over a player, and the U.S. just didn't show up. And the U.S. just was like, he'll come.
I don't remember what it was. Byrne brought it up, and now I've been racking my brain the whole night trying to remember what happened, and I don't remember it.
A lot of things, so it's hard to compartmentalize it correctly.
It's true. That's accurate. Yeah, I don't remember.
Anyway.
Sorry. Go ahead with your MLS list.
Most of it only has to do with a couple of rest of it. Most of it, I'm kind of fine with. I'm not really thrilled with the Jose Martinez erasure that's going on in Philadelphia. Philadelphia wins the Shield. Andre Blake's up for a ton of awards, so Philadelphia's getting some respect. But I guess it's a contractual thing where MLS has to disrespect Philadelphia in some capacity.
That's accurate.
Yeah.
And they did it with Jose Martinez. That's one of the best new players coming into the league this year. The fact that he wasn't on that list, I was shocked.
That's
I know
a good
it's
one.
not like a flashy offensive player, but I mean, I don't know. You put Andre Blake on the MVP. I think your soul can stand to put a midfielder who's not a flashy goal scorer on the best newcomer when he really solidified a midfield for the Supporter Shield Championship team that, frankly, looks like they got rid of Harris Medunjanin at exactly the right time.
I agree. It made them better. They needed it. They had to have it, actually.
Yes. Although I am happy to see future U.S. national team coach Jim Curtin getting consideration. I was fine with that. I would love to see him win it. I won't be upset if it goes to a guy like Oscar Pareja, though, I don't think the job's done.
I went Greg Vanney, so I'm going to fight everybody.
Yeah, Jason went with the third choice.
I went Greg Vanney.
Yeah.
They've had a ton of injuries this year, and they haven't played in Toronto very much.
Yeah. I guess for me, a lot of it centered around, I think Pareja is doing a great job in Orlando. I think there's still work to do, though, because there were games with Orlando where you could see that old culture and that old mentality kind of pop up, and it had to kind of be whack-a-mole back down. It's not out of there completely yet, but he's still done. I don't want to take away from the amazing job he's done.
Okay. Oh, and Byrne reminded us of the rant. You said that U.S. soccer should act like SEC football coaches.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's accurate.
So maybe that's what Berhalter's doing here. He's jumping out in front. Southgate's like, we're going to bring you along in the youth national teams, and you'll move up with the Unite teams. And Berhalter's like, come to the first team. Yes. We're sending the private plane paid for by the boosters to come get you in Valencia.
He rolled in Nick Saban with a private helicopter, landed on your 50-yard line, and came out with an offer.
Berhalter went and talked to Mama.
What number do you want to wear? Does your daddy need a new truck?
He did like the Doak Walker scholarship like Ron Meyer did at SMU.
Yeah.
Wander into the kids club and just put like $1,000 bill adjusted for inflation. We get like a thumbtack and put $1,000 bill with a business card. Give me a call.
Yeah. No, SEC, and it's what Urban Meyer did when he went to Ohio State after he left Florida and had his little spat with the heart thing. I mean, and like the Big Ten coaches got really pissed off because he was, recruiting SEC style, and they weren't. They were still operating on like gentlemen's agreements, like it's like they're dueling at Weehawken in New Jersey.
That would be a them problem.
Exactly, and that's Urban. That's what Urban said. He's like, that's a you problem. I'm recruiting SEC style, man, and that's why Urban won a national title with Cardale Dam Jones somehow.
Whatever happened to Cardale Jones?
Elliott. Cardale Jones,
XFL. He was with. I want to say he was with the DC Defenders in the
for 2 weeks,
which was a shame because I wanted to see him with Hal Mummy playing just a true air raid.
Oh, that'd be to have him in Dallas instead of Landry Jones.
Holy God!
Madness.
All those territorial picks come to bite you.
Yes. Anyway, yeah, man. Okay, tangent off the rails.
Yeah,
we've gone off the rails. I was never going to get you back on the rails.
No.
I was just going to build a separate set of rails into a wall.
Pretty much.
MVP, man, I'm fine with going Rossi. Like, he had the golden boot.
Pozuelo.
Whatever y'all.
Okay, well, here's
I'm assuming you went off the board with that, too.
No, Pozuelo's on the list.
Okay.
No.
Oh, Pozuelo?
Yeah.
Because here's
a good shout.
Here's how I looked at it with those five. Blake, you figure, is going to get the Good Hands Award from Allstate, so that way he's not going to win two. So you put Blake to the side. Rossi is going to get, since Rossi's Golden Boot, he gets Young Player of the Year, so he's not going to get two. You put him to the side. And I was telling Jason, I said, kind of like the Oscars or the Emmys, when you have two actors from the same movie or the same show, they'll cancel each other out, and neither will win the award. So that eliminates Ladero and Morris, and that just leaves Pozuelo by elimination.
Okay. I can buy that. It was weird seeing, I think Bill Baer mentioned it, it's weird seeing guys like Zelarayan on there who didn't play as like a ton of games this year. You're having the same thing in baseball right now with the MVP, where there are people who think it should go to Juan Soto of the Washington Nationals, who just completely was lights out, but he only played part of the year. He couldn't get cleared off COVID. It's running tomorrow night it'll probably go to Freddie Freeman, which is weird because I always pick Freddie to win a batting title, not an MVP. That's neither here nor there. Man, let's see. Daryl DK is my young player. Just my God.
I went Rossi because he's going to win the Golden Boot.
Yeah, because I went DK.
I'm still thinking of it, and this is my fault, I guess, because I'm still thinking of it like Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, and it's not.
And you're right, and that's a good point. I'm still thinking of it in that Rookie of the Year sense, because in that conversation, it's DK running away with the damn thing.
Rookie of the Year, yes. I placed an argument for a newcomer of the year. You went Jose Martinez. I'm surprised you didn't go from my pick that was off the board and Lewis Morgan.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love Lewis Morgan. Celtic could use a Lewis Morgan right now.
Just saying.
Dark life I lead. This is a very dark life. Jose Martinez is still it for me because he solidified the midfield on the Supporter Shield winning team.
Yeah, no, I
got no
like
beef
Martinez.
with Morgan though at all. That's a strong shout.
That's
off the board.
That's where I would go.
Damn.
So I was going back and forth. Another
Lewis
story.
Morgan was one of the best moves that any team made, and one of the best moves a Miami team made. The
best move Miami made.
There's a lot of things about Miami that didn't pan out. It's cool they made the playoffs in the first year, and I know they considered a victory, but
you got a lot of holes.
You're going to have to be better about this in the future.
Morgan was the best move they
big
made.
Contracts.
Best signing they made was Lewis Morgan.
Yeah.
There's a couple Galaxy-ish moves y'all made down there in Miami.
I'm glad you said Galaxy.
Have to get fixed.
I'm glad you said Galaxy because this came up right before we came on the air on TIC, and I've been going back and forth with the Boca in English podcast. Christian Pavón. Well, first off, it came up that Boca had Paul Fernandez. He is not going to stay with the club. He's on loan from Cruz Azul. They made the announcement that they wanted to keep him. They had agreed on a number, but the player didn't want to stay, so they're going to let him go back. Okay, so now then the other side is Christian Pavón. It's a $20 million purchase option. Galaxy have said they're not going to pay that, but they want to keep him. They've said that Pavón has said he wants to stay in L.A., and Boca in English, the podcast, and again, it's a podcast. We don't know, if they have the information here or not. They're pretty good with it. They say that rumors suggest an offer in the range of $10 million US would probably be accepted by Boca. Would you pay $10 million for Christian Pavón right now if you were the LA Galaxy? I would.
I would.
There's
just more holes to fix on that team.
Of course, but he's already there as a DP. I would pay $10 million to keep him. I'd have no problem cutting that check.
Yeah.
No, not one bit. I'd cut that check in a minute. I'm still pining for the idea of if Ezequiel Barco goes to Europe, I need Atlanta United to cut that check for Christian Pavón.
Yeah. You're going to have to get in front of the Galaxy somehow because they're going to be able to tie this up in terms of whatever kind of decision-making process they might have or however long they have a window. I don't think you're going to be able to pull it off because the Galaxy will do it first.
That's the kind of player I want. And you can find other versions.
I'm
not saying he's the only one.
There's others.
But that's the kind of player I want in that DP slot. If it does open up, I want a goal-scoring winger. I want someone else who can provide goals consistently. And I know there are other options. Look, they found options the first time. Every team finds options you haven't heard of unless you are, a degenerate looking at spreadsheets at 3 a.m. in the morning for second division Argentine teams.
Well, then let me ask you both this. If you are Christian Pavón or his representation, and you have LA Galaxy Team A come at you with a certain amount of money, and you have Team B come at you with a certain amount of money that is identical, and Team B, on paper, has a better chance of winning a championship sooner than his time perhaps with LA Galaxy, would that not put Team B closer to the front of the line in the decision-making process?
That's not how it would work, John. The Galaxy have him right now. Yeah, that's not the order of it.
Right of first refusal, I believe.
The Galaxy could pay $20 and keep him today. So they're going to, whatever kind of window they have to stretch it out to make that decision, they're going to do that to try to negotiate it down.
Okay.
You can't jump in front because he's a Galaxy player right now. Now, there is the weird little thing with the Copa Libertadores because there's a way to get him on the roster for Boca in the Copa Libertadores knockout rounds if they wanted to do that. His loan is through December 31st. That's why the Galaxy can hold on to him until then if they want to negotiate. But since the season is over, he must return to Boca after a mandatory 10-day vacation mandated by FIFA. Boca could register him with CONMEBOL up to 72 hours before the first leg in the round of 16. So there's time. That's probably the window that the Galaxy have, is 72 hours before the first leg of the round of 16, where Boca will basically be like, look, if you're not going to do this or we're not going to come to a deal, we're putting him on our Libertadores roster now.
So, as they should.
They should.
They got trophies to win.
Yeah, that's the cutoff. It'll be interesting to see how all this goes down. I think the Galaxy get it done. I think he goes to LA.
I would be willing to bet that and without having looked at it intensively, I'd bet money that, you're looking at that $20 million price tag is to keep him from getting on the roster. And if he gets on the Copa roster, then that price tag comes down, afterward. But that is we want him on the roster. You can have him right now for an inflated fee. Otherwise, it's going to go down over time. But I think it's also playing a bit to the LA Galaxy fan base because he was one of the bright spots for a bad LA Galaxy team. Yeah. Man, the Galaxy fans are already kind of at the gates about things.
More pitchforks and tiki torches coming up?
More pitchforks and tiki torches coming up if they let one of the best players walk on something that I get it's expensive. It ain't too rich for the Galaxy's blood. They've proven that in the past.
The 20's too much. And that was negotiated pre-COVID, so they're trying to negotiate it down, which I understand. Like that wasn't a negotiated number. That was in the loan option. That's in the paperwork. Yeah. So I think they get it done. If you're Atlanta United and you're maybe thinking about, I wonder if this could work out to our benefit, you hope that they can't come to a deal. Boca says, well, we're going to put him on our roster for Copa Libertadores, and then you sign him after the Copa Libertadores because if you can get him for $10 million, that's a price I think you pay.
Yeah.
Especially if you sell Barco. Bernd is with you on a goal-scoring winger. Says Moreno will create chances, but we need two guys that can finish. Can't just be Joseph. Again, lessons need to be learned after seasons like this. After, 2 seasons. This one, Joseph got hurt, so it's a little different.
Yeah.
Winterwind says, I'd love Pavone or an Ellis kind of player. You can get a higher player than an Ellis. And Albert Ellis was a great player, but I think you can get more. The two guys that I look at in Argentina.
Using Albert Ellis, too.
Well, the two guys in Argentina that I'm intrigued by right now are kind of in that $8 to $14 million range, maybe even less than that, maybe 8 to 12. One is a winger in Agustin Urtzi from that Bonfield, a club you've done some business with, Argentine Youth International. Little guy, he does have goals in him. Great on the dribble, great speed. So when you're talking about playing fast, he fits that. Really creative attacking player. The other one's a little more of a central player, but he's got goals and assists in him as well. De La Cruz from River Plate. He's more expensive, but he's in a weird situation because his contract is half owned by Liverpool of Uruguay, and he's been linked to moves like all over the freaking world, and nothing's happened yet. River's in a worse financial position than Boca. Like, Boca can play hardball on Pavone, and I think they'll be okay financially. They don't have to sell. I'm a little surprised the number's 10 if that's what they would take. River needs money. Like, River's not in a good financial position. So you start looking at some of these Argentine clubs, and there could be some real deals available for these guys right now. It's going to be interesting.
Oh, I thought Jarrett was going to chime in here with.
No, I was deferring to you.
Oh, thanks. But no, I'd love to see. I agree with what's going on the Twitch pitch, and I'd love to see it. And I will hold out secretive hope that Pavone could be available if things happen one way to the other. So
Eric Lopez could be a goal scoring winger. We don't know yet.
True.
I'd like a little more of a sure thing, but you never know. You never know. We got like 2 minutes because I'm on 92.9 at 9 o'clock. So
okay. All right, Jarrett.
Last words, Jarrett. Go.
What else is on your mind?
Same thing with the SEC idea of putting a true freshman in there and expecting big things. Eric Lopez, I just want to be careful with his expectations. Man, look, it's a cool deal. He's had a great start to his professional career, but I want to temper those expectations a bit, just kind of to protect him and to protect his psyche and bring him along the right way. All this is said, understanding that if they keep Barco, I'm not going to be upset. I still want to see what Barco can do. You have seen flashes of Ezequiel Barco being a damn monster.
Yes.
And 2020 was supposed to be his coming out party. It was supposed to be this system working. He goes to the Olympics. He balls out at the Olympics, similar to what he did at the U21s. And then you sell him for all of the money that Scrooge McDuck can give you.
Didn't happen that way, though, unfortunately.
Nope.
Welcome to 2020. Final words, John.
This was fun, and I apologize for going off the rails about my body mass index and causing a furor in the Twitch pitch about it.
People are just saying BMI is not the best way to judge it.
Shut up!
Basically.
All right, we'll be back for a normal show in the morning.
Normal show.
Yeah,
Define normal.
I don't know.
Be there, so
It's not going to be normal. Bartimus Prime's
normal
joining us in the morning to talk U.S. men's national team.
Oh, that's right.
Tomorrow after the U.S. game, we might have a Twitch Pitch special recap of the game discussion. Stay tuned for that. But 9 a.m. in the morning. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Much plati, y'all.
Much plati, y'all.
Much plati, y'all.